Chief, you want to get an update on? I'm ready. West Ascension Drainage Consolidated District is called to order for August 3rd, 2017. Am I do the invocations thing? Hey, dear Lord, give us the power and strength to make the right decision for this community on the drainage issue for the future. Dear Lord, bless everyone in the parish. Dear Lord, also bless this great state, this great parish in the United States. Also bless the armed forces service for giving us the freedom to do what we do tonight. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call. Ms. Peggy, everyone is here. Accepting the, before we do that, Bill, I want to put the chief on it right after, put him right after item 3, accepting the minutes. I want the chief to give us an update.
In addition to the minutes, I'll vote in favor of that.
All right. Motion include the chief of fire department of Downsville to give an update on the Modest firehouse. Okay. All right, moving on to item number 3, accepting the minutes from July 6, 2017.
Motion.
Motion, I second it. No objection, motion passed. Item 3A will be that update. Chief, you don't mind, Mr. James? Give an update on that status of it, what's going on with that fire.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for it, but it's pretty easy. Y'all were at the meeting with the engineer. We got the engineer in place. We got the contract signed. He has to do the core sample so he can tell what foundation he needs. As soon as they do the core sample, and I asked him for an update from our next meeting, which is on the 17th of this month, same as your council meeting at 7:30 in the morning. I asked him for an update for that meeting on the core sample, and I'll have something hopefully from the engineer by then, and then we can go out for bid once we get the specs for the foundation. You know, that's what we've been waiting on.
All right. Thank you very much, there, Chief. Any other?
But I'll be at the 17th meeting too, so if I can inform you on what happened.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 4, agreement with West Ascension Drainage and the City of Downsville. Mr. Bill Rue.
Yes, sir. Council, we've been talking about this for a while now and kicking the ball back and forth. I think Ron had got some estimates on one of the major projects we're looking at participation with the city on. And we would like to consider, or y'all consider the I guess, of taking some of these major projects that the city has on a case-by-case basis and look at it from a cost share perspective. The drainage district cannot front the money totally on some of this stuff, whereas we understand that the city might be in the same situation. If the West Ascension Drainage Commission wishes to do and the City of Downsville wish to get into an intergovernmental agreement on a case-by-case basis, I would suggest that we look at it and come back to the council with the total cost of the projects and some recommendations. This is something, again, I think it's a fair way of doing it. And again, looking at it on a case-by-case basis, and not enter into any general type agreement, because every one of these projects are different, and both in the situation, what it takes to do it, where it's at, the legal aspects of it, and also the cost of it. So I welcome any kind of.
If Bill finished, you can speak.
Yes, sir.
Let me see if I understand. You're saying there'll be no agreement until there's some issue that comes up?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think we should enter into maybe a agreement that we would take it on a case-by-case basis. And then we'll look at it, and then at each point, we would decide, or you would decide, along with the city, what's the appropriate share of the cost of a certain project. I'll give you a friend. I mean, Ron has some figures on one of the projects, and he can give you maybe a little bit of a cost of that particular project and show you how significant some of these projects are. Ron?
Well, I'm just wondering, though, if we shouldn't have some kind of not necessarily agreement to fix any of the roads, but have those percentages fixed. That's going to be the sticking point.
It very well could. And in fact, I tell you, Ron, why don't you go ahead and give them an example? This is just as an example of Catawba, I think.
Yeah, Catawba Street.
If you don't mind,
Go
I
ahead.
had asked Ron, we started looking at the number, I asked Ron to do something with a percentage ratio on it, and that's why this here came up. We just can't afford it, like everyone knows. We $200,000, $300,000, and we got 5 projects in the city of Downsville averaging about $200,000. We don't have that fund, just for inside the city limits. So we, the proposal is to do that, and Ron, you can do those numbers. For instance, what street it is?
Catawba Street, Bonnie
Catawba
Street. Donna. That's kind of along the lines of what we looked at is we getting complaints from the city to the drainage board. What we've been able to do is get our engineering to do a survey, give us a design to solve the problem. Then we put a cost estimate on that design. That's where this roughly $200,000 came in for Catawba Street to be repaired. You had asked me for a 60-40 or a 70-30, and those are the type of figures that we need to look at and come to an agreement and move forward on if we want to fix a project. And Catawba is $116,000 for 60% and $77,000 for 40%. Lower percentage would be the city's responsibility. 70%, $136,000, and 30% is $58,000. So we need to know if the city's willing to come forward to the table and fund their part. And Catawba's a rather smaller project. Currently, we're looking at Bonnie Street. We'll get to that on another item, but that's going to be a larger figure, much larger.
So where'd you come up with the 70-30 to start, or 60-40? Where'd you come up with those starting numbers?
We had discussed
That's
it.
just a proposal. I just asked him.
Oh, okay.
If we know, I felt that 50-50 wouldn't go.
It's just an example.
So I'm just throwing the numbers out there. But the other thing is on this agreement, Bill, those small street ditches, we want to let the city of Downsville take those. The major ditches inside the city, we pretty much maintain them already. But when it comes to a major project like this here, they were looking for some type of proposal to start off with, and that's what I gave.
Okay.
So we'll take, we'll look at all projects as brought to us by the city, and we'll do an analysis of it like this, and we'll look at the budgets that we have, appropriate budget for this year and next year, and we'll try to budget some money maybe to handle our share of some of this. After it comes to y'all for approval and we go through budget talks and stuff like this, we can appropriate a certain amount to go toward that, depending on actually what's in the budget that's allowable to spend on that, which is very little right now.
Well, I guess I would like to see us try to get as close to coming to an agreement on the percentage. And that might be some sliding scale, and I presume that, there's some kind of floor. If it were, say, less than 50,000, we wouldn't participate at all. I don't know what the...
It could be.
But there needs to be some thought into that before we're under the gun of some having this, having to go out and do something.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes we can look at the type of project it is. If If it's a lot of labor-intensive work that the drainage board can do, you may want to, in some cases, where we'll contribute all the labor, to do the job, and the city can provide the material. If, in fact, it's pretty much the same type of, situation where the split, sometimes you may want to do that to get a job done. We have done that in the past with other cities. So again, it will more or less depend on the situation, the type of project, where the project is, and to be fair, take it on a case-by-case basis. But I agree, something for us, the percentage should be, put into an agreement, a range maybe of percentages. We can work on it, and we'll talk to y'all about it.
Okay.
And see where you're at on it.
So Bill, now you have something to go on, so you can draft up something?
Yes, sir.
And Bill can look at it?
We'll give you several options, alternates maybe, that you kind of look at and kick around and see if the wording's right on it. This is the right time to begin that kind of work, investigation, because we're right in the middle of budget analysis right now. I met with the finance department this morning. So I will be putting together the budget in the next week or two. And I need, to have some of this information, the wishes of the board, to know how to try to get this into the budget.
Okay.
So.
You good?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Bill, thanks on that.
Thank you, Bill.
Item number 5, 11th Street and Highway 1 drainage issue. Mr. Ron, that's the railroad.
Yeah, I refer that to Mr. Gregg. He's been
okay.
handling that process.
All right.
Okay, with the railroad, we did submit the permit and got a requisition of PO sent to them, and it's a 30 to 45 day waiting period for them to review the permit and our wishes. So we're kind of waiting on that, and we'll find out, what they tell us from there.
Okay. I have one question. I might have opened my big mouth, but we went to the City of Downsonville Committee of a Whole, and they asked me, was both sides of the railroad was going to be done. And, at the time, I wasn't thinking, and I said, yeah, but the only thing we requested a permit for is one side of it, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll correct that in the future. I just wanted to make sure.
That would be the Highway 1 north side of the railroad.
Okay.
Well, did we find the source of that leak?
They fixed the drainage in the road, on the State Department shut the,
Okay.
clean
Well, I
out.
thought there was some kind of leak there or something.
No,
Talking
they,
Is it
about
just
the
a
bridge on
drainage
Highway
issue?
1 south?
yeah, on Highway
Yeah.
1
Yeah, that's a
was
total
a
different
state,
entity. I don't-
that was a state
Okay.
issue with the drainage.
Okay.
All right. Item number 6, Bonnie Lane issue, and that's, we still doing the survey on that?
Yeah, I spoke with the engineering department this week. They have finished this field work, and everything's at the drafter's desk, and the engineer has to put his cuts in. So hopefully by next meeting, I'm hoping to bring you a budget number for that figure to go to the city with that.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks for the update. All right, item number 7, Highway 18 and Highway 3120 drainage issue. It's you, Ron or Greg? Which one?
Mr. Gregg.
Well, I talked to Aaron Elisar, and they're waiting, he talked to CF Industries, and they're waiting on permit approval from the levee board, and once that's completed, they'll begin to work. The CF did dig the ditch on their property. They did find a blockage with a culvert, and they dug that up, so that should help eliminate some of the water coming across the road. But the project, as far as the riverside, we're still waiting on the permits from the levee board and everything. He told me they did do some cuts in the concrete part of it for future, but it's still waiting on the permits as far as any digging or anything will be done on it. That's where it stands right now.
All right. Bill, you got any questions? That's your...
No.
Nope.
I appreciate the
All
work.
right. I got item number 8, West Ascension Master Drainage Plan. Bill, before you start, I got Mr. Acosta, two Mr. Acosta want to speak because they have one in the major drainage canal, and you can speak right now, anyone in the, Mr. Acosta.
I'm Kenny Acosta. I think everybody knows me except maybe this gentleman, because I've talked to everybody about one of these issues. It's drainage, but it's parish-induced by opening this water system. They got a 2-inch fire hydrant. It's been running for weeks. The water doesn't go in the drainage ditch. It goes on our property. And on the down Brew Road, where they have the little spot that you always see on television, the news people, that water goes into a ditch which flows back north. It goes in my cow pasture, and it's just creating a pond. I've lost 2 cows over the winter stuck in that water. I've had to go and put electric fence up to try to keep them out. But I don't think I ought to be responsible for a water district putting water on my property and causing me problems. Craig's been up there and seen the problem, but water just won't go uphill, so has Ron. And I started this way over a year ago, talking to people, and nothing's gotten done. And I'm about to the end of my wits about why this can't be solved.
Mr. Acosta, that canal you have is one of the major canals that flows to the back. It
Yes.
flows into that back canal, correct?
The canal you're talking about, though, drains water all the way from Highway 405, okay? Goes through the Julian's property. It goes, we own property in the woods that goes through our property. We gave a right-of-way years ago all the way to the Rocky Canal. But what I'm just telling you about is on Brew Road, there's a ditch that this water company is draining water into, and it goes in my cow pasture. It doesn't go anywhere else because there's no sufficient slope to the ditch. Instead of it going south, like all the other water does, it goes north.
Go back to the river.
It goes back towards the river, but it doesn't make it there. Like I said, Craig been up there and Ron's been up there and seen the problem. And I've called, I forget the man's name, who's the head of the water district, and I'm coming up there, never showed up. So I'm here to address y'all. What can I do? Or what can you do to help us?
We got the man coming up there gonna handle your problem.
I heard that
Well, Mr. Bill Rue.
a year ago.
Like I said, Mr. Bill Rue is the director. He's the director over all those people right there. He directs those equipment.
Okay, so maybe I came to the right place.
All right?
What is the water? Is that flushing?
It's flushing water. But it never, it always, I mean, I heard about it, but I didn't know it was going up here.
Is ACUD one?
I'm
Well, has
Steve
it been
Acosta.
running all the time?
Huh?
It runs all the time?
They flush it.
It's been
It's at the end of the line.
last year up there.
That's when we had that issue with the
I've
water.
locked it in a couple of times because it got so bad. But that's not the right thing to do. But I don't think we ought to be having to take water on our property. You know,
Well, maybe we ought to
get
look at
enough
why
rain.
we're having to flush that continuously also.
It's at the end of the line.
it's the end of the line, and it's they have
It's
to
the end of the
continue
line.
flushing.
There's no movement. You have to flush it. Because if it don't meet the test qualification for chlorine in it, they have to flush it till the chlorine get to that level. But we'll deal with that, and Bill gonna be up to speed on it now. All right, the other Mr. Acosta.
Yeah, I'm Steve Acosta. We have about 400 acres up the river, and about 150 acres is between the levee and the highway. 30 acres right now, that is probably flooded from beaver dams that's blocking some culverts, drainage from the highway that comes onto the property that doesn't go anywhere except through the culvert that's plugged with, that the beaver just plugged up. And we're just looking to see how we can get this rectified, either get the ditches on the highway or to drain out towards by the church, you know, the little church we're talking about, and drain on out to the back, and so we can get some water relief off our property. And that's separate property from what Kenny's talking about.
Is that the, sorry to interject, but we
Go ahead,
did,
Brian.
is that the Chatham Canal, they call it? The main canal back through the plantations back there?
Yeah, but that goes to a slough, which,
Right.
you know,
The bottom
highway
end of the
drains to
church.
the slough, and then the slough drains to the other canal.
We were able to obtain servitude from the two plantations, and we do have a machine on site now. We're gonna dig that canal going towards that slough, where the first beaver dam that I met you guys on. We are proceeding with that. Both plantations were able to, I think we got 50 foot of servitude on that canal now. So we will be doing that. I did get with right away to try to get with the property owner at 405 by the church, where we could dig that
Yep.
one section from there. The slough area is wetlands. We cannot go in there.
Right.
So we are trying to obtain right away from that landowner. Haven't been able to get it just yet. But once we do that, hopefully we will be able to dig that section from 405 towards the wetlands. We cannot go in them. So we are looking into that. Portion of that area where you're talking about the water goes to 405. That actually is a state highway. So portion of that road work there would need to be coordinated through Aaron Ellisard. I could send him an email about y'all concerns and try to get him in contact with you guys too.
Okay.
Try to get something going on that for you.
You plan on digging that canal, you said, all the way towards the back?
Where you guys' property starts is wetlands. Cannot go in there.
How did they dig it once before?
I was not in the picture.
Because if it was wetlands, you know, there's a road now, and there's about a 60, 70 foot right of way there.
I'm not sure, sir, but I know that we have maps telling us where the wetland areas are, and I'm not gonna send equipment in there, but we do have right of way on the areas in the Canefield area that is not wetlands, and you guys asked us to do a routine cleaning out and get the beaver dams out, and we will be able to do that.
Okay.
But going through wetlands and things like that, you have to go through the permitting process, Corps of Engineers, and we're just not gonna go that
Well,
route.
if that ditch plugs up back there, you can't drain nothing from 405, period. So what you're gonna do then, you're gonna have to go get permits from the Corps of Engineers or the
No, I
wetlands
think
people anyway.
you can remove an obstruction, like if a tree would fall across or something. I think we might be able to get it out and do that. You can't change a drainage canal basin within the wetlands without going through permitting, like digging it and changing the.
Yeah, we're not, you know, we just wanna get it clean, or at least the grass cut
You can
on.
get the trees out, because there's 2 trees now completely blocking that canal. So you came look with us that day. There's 2 trees at the end of the cane field, maybe about 100 yards down that main canal. And a couple of months ago, the water backed all the way up in the spikes. It came over that canal bank into his cane field. And we saw that's where the tree was. Eventually it went out, but he held water in his cane field for about 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I would suggest we go do a site visit and go get
Yeah.
documentation of it, see what it would take to get
But
that
if
out.
if you can take a tree out that's in an existing canal without a permit, that'll help a lot.
We would look at it. Get back with you.
Okay, thanks
Okay.
for letting us.
All right. Okay, Bill, you.
A lot of this is kind of news to me, but what I'll do, I'll get with Ron and Greg and both Greg, and we'll look at it again, just to make sure, you know, that we're doing everything that's possible. And we don't have a problem putting in an application for a permit. Now, if it's granted or when it's going to be granted, it's totally up to the Corps. But we have a permitting specialist that works for us that will, you know, can submit an application for it. So we don't have a problem doing that. And we just go from there on some of this stuff. On the major drainage, I've tried to get of course, number one, we identified 2 classes of drainage, major drainage ditches within West Ascension. and that is what we call a Class 1 and a Class 2. Class 1 being your major ditches, Class 2 being your arteries coming off, arterial drainage structures coming off of that major drainage. And of course, we treat each one of them a little bit different for its drainage. Your major ditches or your Class 1 comes first, and then your Class 2 is after you do your Class 1. We tried to get some estimates on some of the costs, but wasn't unable to do so because some of the contractors I asked to give me an estimate, kind of reluctant, because if it goes out for bids, they feel that they may be compromised by giving out estimates first and something like this. They'd rather not get involved with it. They'd be happy to bid on it, but they don't want to get involved prior to that. And in thinking and looking at everything, I'm just suggesting that we do something that's I've been wanting to do throughout the parish for a long time. On the east side, we're not able to do it because of the heavy tree line and canopy situation over there, but over here is a little bit different. And what I'm looking at doing is doing a drone survey, filming of every major channel, starting with the major channels within West Ascension. And that provides us two things. Number one, it gives us a close top view of the drainage channels, a permanent record of the present condition of the drainage channels, and it identifies where some of the blockages could be. It also, at the same time, when they're doing this, it gives us coordinates as it's filming. It gives us coordinates, as it's going down, so we can identify each where that potential damage, go and review it by, eyeball the problems, and actually place the problems on a map. And with that, we can give a better estimate of a scope of work that's needed to be done. The second thing that it does for us, which we lacked in the past all over the parish, when there's a major flood event or a rain event or something that fills up the channels, especially a hurricane event, we always have NRCS and other federal agencies coming in and say, we're willing to help you get some of the stuff out. It always hinges on the fact what was caused by the storm event. If we keep up, and we want to do this once a year or after every major event, we do this, we can absolutely have evidence that whatever is in that was caused by the event itself, and we have no problem at all getting funds from NRCS or some other federal agencies to go get that stuff out because we have a before and after documentation of it. And again, this is something that we plan on doing once a year or after every major event to see if conditions change. And again, use it for our initial cleaning of the channel, putting together a program to bid out the drainage of the improvements. Also, I'm working with Martha Collins. We're trying to identify some funds that is possible that we can pull into West Ascension for the cleaning of these channels. One of the things that her and I was talking about recently is the restore money from the BP, which is able to be spent throughout the parish. And depending on how much we can get from that and getting everything approved, there's a possibility that we can move some funds from that over to West Ascension for the actual cleaning of these channels within West Ascension. So that's where we're at on most of that right now. We're right into again, trying to get a firm decision on how we can spend the money and how much we can possibly move over. And of course, if that becomes possible, then it still has to go to the full council for the distribution of funds and recommendations and stuff like that. So that's going to definitely be coming back to you and to the council if that's able to be done. But we definitely need some extra funds from an outside source to be able to do a good job over here and not deplete our own resources in trying to get some of this done. So basically, that's where we're at right now. I'm hoping to get the drone work done within the next, I'm hoping 30 days. Because once you get it started, if we've got good weather, it won't take long. The good thing on this side of the river, most of it's open. It's almost all cane fields, low canopy or no canopy at all. And it's something that can be done fairly easy, fairly cheap, and something that would benefit the district, I think. So.
Is that something you're going to contract? Is that correct?
We're looking at both ways, possibly doing it in-house, or if we don't have the good enough capability to do it, contract it out. So I'm looking at both aspects of it.
That's a pretty big project if you're going to do the whole parish.
Well, right now, we're just looking at West Ascension.
Oh, just West.
Just West Ascension, because the conditions of the major drainage channels in West Ascension fits it perfectly because there's no canopy. We looked at it on the other side of the river several times, and especially we looked at actually in Panama Conway, and it's just so much obstruction, so low canopy that it'd be hard to maneuver, through there. Some places won't be too bad, but a lot of it just not. It's not. It doesn't fit the situation to be able to do it. Again, totally different on this side because it's all wide open. I think we can do them fairly easily, and it's a good test case. Try it here, get it organized, see how it works, and then we may move it over to the east side and do in selected areas of the east side. So it's something beneficial to us, I think.
I'm in favor.
Good.
Me too. All right. Thank Bill for that update. We're going to move on to item number 9, St. James Assumption Drainage Update. Mr. Thomas Pierce, Moose.
Yeah, you gentlemen have requested a schedule, and I include that in your packet. The most important thing to keep in mind is that the majority of this project is the delivery is tied to the core permit, and that schedule is beyond anybody's control. Also, the acquisition of the right-of-ways and temporary construction right-of-ways that's needed to perform the dredging and the maintenance of the canal would be somewhat of a hard timeline to control, as most of those properties are very large and have many heirs. And that's, as you know, is in St. James and Assumption parishes that we have to do that. The engineer gave me some information. I submitted to legal to possibly draw up an agreement to include the parishes of Ascension and St. James, Assumption initially, and then if we get an agreement there that's satisfactory to everyone, to then include St. John and Lafourche.
I talked to legal. Nobody's talking to their lawyers. I talked to the St. James Parish Attorney and the Assumption Parish Attorney. They don't know anything about this, and neither one of them have servitudes on their drainage ditches. So from that standpoint alone, they don't have a servitude process down there. And that's a major issue before you try to do any project, is you got to get access to the property. But they're not getting I don't know who y'all speaking with, but they're not getting the same response from the people they're talking to. I mean, the police jury in Assumption said we wasn't coming to that. So all I can do, I mean, as far as drafting an agreement, and then Moose gave me some stuff. I mean, we're talking at least anywhere, I mean, this thing could be a multi-million-dollar project. So how are you going to, until you know the price, it's going to be difficult. Neither one of them, how are we going to talk about doing the CEA when we don't even know what it's going to cost us?
Well,
But I mean, there needs to be a sit-down somewhere before you can start working on an agreement to see what you're agreeing to, who's putting up the money, and whether they even want to do it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that I think we talked about that at the last meeting. We asked if we could have a meeting, agreement in principle.
Well, we can't. I
Between
talked to their
these
lawyers.
parishes.
They're not talking to their lawyers. You can't do an agreement in principle when you don't have people.
I'm not
about
talking to
the agreement.
anybody except for the people right here. That's all we talked to, and we asked Mr. Pierce and him to go and initiate that process to get an agreement in principle.
Whoever the bosses are, they're not talking to their lawyers, because I called the lawyers. I called the lawyers for Ascension, for St. James, for Assumption, and for even the levy district. And they said, well, nobody's talked to us about it.
so
But I mean, we've got to have a cost. Nobody's going to, all of them said the same thing. How do you work on a contract in principle when you don't know what it costs?
Well, we have like an estimated cost. It's a lot.
yeah.
But the other issue is you can't start anything without, well, first off, you need the permit, but they don't, those two parishes do not have drainage servitudes like we do. We do it different, and we go get servitudes from the landowners.
Well, I mean, my opinion is we need to find out the answers to these questions. we need to find out if we can get the agreement. If they don't have right-of-way, how in the world are we gonna get on their property to do this cleaning?
We can't.
They're gonna can we get the answers to those questions? And
Well,
because we spent, do we owe any more money on this work that we've done so far, or that we had spent what? How much was it?
We close to 100.
About 100,000?
Since I've been here, we put up the last 20,
Right. We
And
put
I
up,
think Oliver, y'all done something
we
before.
did about,
we were talking
About
about going
close
to
to 100.
working
We
assumption,
close
and
to
the police sheriff said no.
well, we talked to the parish president of St. James and his director, his CAO, and, they say, okay, we're going to go along because they have to push the permit and everything, and we was waiting for their engineer because they hired this engineer, T. Baker Smith, and they providing the information to them. And well, the last meeting that we was with them, and exactly like Councilman Dawson said, we asked them to come up with some type of agreement or some type of language that we can be on, corresponding, the same page. But now you telling us none
They're
of
not
the
talking to their
attorney.
lawyers. Well, Assumption said, you know what happened with Assumption.
So do we have to draft up a letter to each body, government body, requesting this so we can get a response back in writing?
I think we need to have a meeting with them. I think the thing is to sit down and see if they really want to do it. Otherwise, we're wasting our time going back
Okay,
and
well,
forth.
who can set that up?
We'll set up the meeting with the Assumption Parish President and St. James Parish President.
I would suggest we meet with the police jurors who you got to go through their districts.
And they
Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to say,
Yeah.
no, they don't work like we do.
They on police jury. Assumption, you have to go through the police jury.
Jury. St. James Parish Council.
Well, but at least, it'd be nice if they have the lawyers there, because when I called them, they didn't know what I was talking about.
And, Moose, can you make sure the levy board is there this time?
Yeah, we was gonna include the levy board.
And I talked with the lawyer for the levy board, and he said they did do off-levy projects, but as far as, he said, I can't make any recommendations until y'all tell me what y'all looking for, money-wise. And I don't have any control over that.
Well, I'm gonna make this statement one more time, and I make this statement every time I meet with somebody. Downsonville get 8 inches of rain, there will be problems on St. Patrick's Street. We know that. We already seen it twice. Without this dredging of this canal, which people normally say Downsonville will never flood. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if this canal does not get dredged, they will flood. So, we got to do whatever we can to make this happen. So, appreciate it. Moose, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Moose.
All right, moving on to item 10, drainage issue along Highway 1. They said, Craig, you give me an update on that earlier, say that.
They did it. They did the part that we requested to be done.
Mhm.
They blowed out all the covers. They did on Highway 1 South too, and they did blow out all the covers. So
Where's that?
That is when we had that request for Highway 1, all the state road ditches to be dug. The state was been working on it for the last 2 weeks.
Is that the Bun Hood area? What area is that?
Oh, no, not the Bun Hood.
Is that
That's
the,
Highway 1 North in Smoke Bin and Highway
Okay.
1 South
Okay.
on the Bell Road.
South
I thought we took
South
care of
of
Smoke Bin a while back. That was the Chuck Long issue, right?
I was just wondering, I didn't
Oh.
know. Because we got more than one issue on Highway 1.
All right, well, we get with Craig now. If you got
Well, we have
another-
that issue about Castanos.
That's 11th Street.
That's 11th Street.
That's
That
11th
was
Street.
round.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 11th Street.
And that's the railroad.
All right, thanks for the update. All right, item number 11, sandbag machine. I have requested that machine to be put, to look at the price, the cost of it, so we can have one on the west side. Lately, we've been having issues with that, getting sand during emergency. And Mr.
I submitted it on the.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm so used to calling Ron right now, then Craig, so you can say.
I submitted it on the budget, 2018 budget, and gonna get with Bill on that. And
How much
Yeah, and I'll answer some. Yeah, I do have the list, and we're putting it together. I'm gonna have the budget put together next week. One thing, personally, I haven't surveyed it lately. What's in the old building, old DPW building, fairground building is there anything in it?
No.
I would suggest, and again, I don't know how you go about it, what kind of agreement we need and everything, but that would be an ideal place to store the sand, the sandbags, and the machine. And the people on the personnel on this side of the river can do it exactly the same way we do on the other side. When it's rain or inclement weather, they can go inside and bag sand and make the day. We're getting ready to build a building at DPW to do that, to move our sandbag machines under something at DPW and do sandbagging when we can't do anything else. But I'll recommend doing that, putting it at that location and storing the sand and sandbags in that facility. So,
Bill, you want to answer that question? Go ahead.
Well, how much is it? What's the cost of the machine?
how much?
I estimated at 140,000 is what I put on the.
I'm a little bit cautious of that figure for one main reason, is that I want to actually look and see if anything new has come out since we bought this machine, our machines, and see if there's something better on the market that might be a little bit faster and easier. But so I want to review that first before I come up with a number. Because we may find something bigger and better for the same amount, or maybe a little bit more, but it might be a lot more proficient. So I'm going to be reviewing it, but we'll have some numbers on it next week.
Well, Bill, all right, that number needs to be confirmed because I requested the city of Downsville, we made a proposal that they put in some money in, at least half of it, because,
Well, I can get firm quotes
that's what
for
we
this
need.
because a lot of this is on state contract, and we can get firm quotes from Covington Equipment where we got ours from.
That is the 130,000 mark was from Covington.
Yeah.
So that's what the existing
right.
unit
That's the
does. That's nothing.
sandbagging machine with the conveyor belt.
With the conveyor.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
But I want to check what's out there now and make sure that we're getting the best, the most efficient.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Huh? Item
And
number,
also, I may say, I've been working with Rick Weber with OEP, and we've been trying to get the sea cans, using inmate labor to get the sea cans filled back up, and it's been a slow process, but we are trying to get with the warden and everything and see if we can get the inmate labor to help
Right.
fill the sea cans back up. That's
Well,
empty right now.
right now, I'm pretty sure the sheriff is using the inmates that he building the park over here, and
Right.
they're doing a lot of work over here right now.
And that's the
So,
problem we have in trying to get the help over there, so.
And Mr. Bill talk about putting the machine in our old building. That old building needs a lot of repair to it, a lot of work done to it too, to put it in there.
we're gonna look at one part of it. We ain't gonna look at the whole part. All right. Okay, Mr. Ron, for reports number 12. Ron, you have any up there? All right. Okay. And, Greg, you got any update, any other additional?
That's everything I have.
All right. Craig?
No, we cutting grass. We move our big machine to Modest to start that canal for Mr. Costa now. And we should get on there by the end of next week or so, after I get the dotty call, the dotty in.
Okay.
And I have Ryan and them started.
All right. Mr. Moose Pierce?
Just to mention, engineer, we talked to him, Bill wasn't there, but
Bill
he
wasn't.
kind of mentioned that he would help us try to put a packet together, maybe try to get some funding,
Right, yeah, send to Washington so we can talk to our,
whenever
On
we
the
go
clean out of Napoleon?
Yeah.
Okay.
for the state of Washington, where, that's all I have.
all right. Okay. Item number 13, date and time. September 7th, all right. Same time, 5:15. Item number 14,
Move to adjourn.
meeting adjourned.